Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. My name is Councillor Shantanu Rajawat, the Leader of the Council and Chair of this meeting. Can I welcome all those in the audience, and in particular, welcome back former Councillor Corinna Smart. Welcome back, good to see you. And those watching online as well. We've got quite a packed agenda, so lots of interesting things. Hopefully you get something out of it. I'm joined around the Cabinet table by my Cabinet colleagues who will introduce themselves as they speak. And we are supported this evening with officers who offer support but don't take part in the voting process. Before I get into the formal part of the agenda, I think it's really important to put on record that this evening is Victoria Lawson's last cabinet, our Executive Director for Culture, Customer Services and Environment. When did you first start, Victoria, in the council? 29th of February. 2016. So yes, so this is your last cabinet, and I know there'll be an opportunity at your formal leaving due to say a few words and say goodbye, but I think it's important to note you've been to cabinet very regularly, but also review and scrutiny as well, very, very regularly, more than perhaps you'd like to. But the development of your department and your team and a lot of the items that are on the agenda this evening are thanks to the leadership and the vision that you have shown, and the leadership you've shown to your officers as well in your department, and really allowed them to flourish. And that's a credit to you. Of course, you're off to a smaller borough, just putting that out there, although it is a promotion, and it's a very well-deserved promotion. Our loss is very much Islington's gain. And I was talking just today with your new boss in Islington. She's very, very excited to have you, which makes me very, very unhappy to lose you. But of course, we wish you every success. I know you'll do great things there, and being in and around the London scene, we look forward to hearing more about your successes going forward as well. Okay, so we move on to the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. I've got apologies from Councillor Ajmer Garawal and Councillor Peter Thompson and Councillor C.R. Raza. Obviously, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Raza are invited guests as Leader of the Opposition and Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Sorry, are there any declarations of interest from members? No. Can I draw members' attention to the note from the monitoring officer on declaring interests as well at the same time? We then move on to the second item, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of November. I'll take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising at the same time. Starting at page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, and page 16. Colleagues, are you happy for me to sign out those minutes? Agreed? Excellent. Thank you very much. We then move on to our first substantive item on the agenda, which is the Air Quality Action Plan. It's a report by Councillor Dunn. Councillor Dunn, over to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rajawat. I am Councillor Catherine Dunn. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Climate, Environment and Transport. And I'm bringing this report on our Air Quality Action Plan. I brought a previous version of this plan to the Cabinet in June, and since then it has been out for consultation. And therefore I'm bringing this new and updated version which takes on board's comments and answers from the consultation. We produce an air quality action plan every 5 years. So the previous one was from 2018, and this new one will take us through to 2028. It follows a set formula set by the Greater London Authority, which sets out 7 topics, which range from monitoring of air quality to public health awareness campaigns to actions to reduce toxic emissions from things such as development and transport. Within those topics, we have identified 12 priorities for us as a borough. These include a new network of air quality sensors. By using this new type of low-cost sensor, we can vastly increase the coverage and improve our understanding of air quality across the borough. It includes the installation of electric vehicle charging points. It includes things like improvements to our walking and cycling infrastructure, and many more. In total, there are 91 actions that have been identified and been checked against the consultation to make sure that they are reflective of the views of our residents who responded. The majority of residents who responded to the consultation identified cars and aircraft as the main sources of pollution in the borough. And a majority said that either themselves or a friend had been impacted or had their health impacted by poor air quality. The highest priority actions that I identified for us were around the retrofitting of homes and workplaces to reduce emissions and improving walking and cycling infrastructure. So all of this has made it into the plan. I think it's a good read. It's a good checklist for us as a borough to make sure we're doing everything that we can do to improve our air and therefore improve the health and well-being of our residents.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Dunn. I will formally second the report and reserve my right to speak. It's therefore open for discussion and debate. Would anybody like to say anything on this report? Can't see anyone indicating. So I think you're absolutely right, Councillor Dunn. It's a really, really important report. It is very well laid out, and I think it shows leadership on air quality at a time when government is backing away from showing leadership on climate responsibilities and non-air quality. I think this is a very important document and it builds on previous versions. So thank you to you and the team for bringing this forward. It is a very, very good report. If there's no one else, the recommendations on this report are on page 17, number 1 and number 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. We then move on to making of an Article 4 direction to withdraw Class MA and ZA permitted development rights in designated areas. Report by Councillor Bruce.
Thank you, Leader. Yes. Members may remember last year we introduced an Article 4 direction on HMOs in the borough, and that was fully agreed and approved, I think, in September, August this year. It essentially does a very similar job, but for a different category of building. If members look to the recommendations, we're asking for the approval, the preparation and making of a non-immediate direction Article 4 for changes from commercial business and service uses to residential uses, which is Class MA, and the demolition of vacant office, light industrial research development buildings, which is Class, and replacing them with housing, which is Class ZA. At the moment, what under new rules since 2020 and 2021, permitted development rights allows these to take place without any planning permission. And what the Article 4 direction looks to do is to remove that right. Doesn't mean it will stop it entirely. Obviously, we wish to, in this borough, take everything on we do take everything on a case-by-case basis. That is exactly what we want to do in this case, and allow those where there is a reason and a good evidence to do so, but to take as much control over that as possible and ensure that commercial buildings and business buildings and those used in particular areas for that purpose remain where there is a need. We're not talking about, unlike the HMO Article 4 direction, we are not talking about the whole borough. There is a lovely map, I can't remember if it's Appendix 1 or Appendix 2, but there's a lovely map that designates town centres and areas of commercial interest and various different areas that we're areas that we're specifically looking at where this will take place. It's specifically where there is a plethora of these buildings and where there is a need for these buildings as well, where we've recognised that. There will be a formal consultation period, and then a longer period of time where representation can be made before this will be able to be confirmed, as long as it's not called in or the Secretary of State doesn't look to ask us to modify in any way, it can be approved fully next year. So I move the recommendations in the report, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bruce. I'll formally second it and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything on this report? It's a very straightforward report and a welcome one as well in terms of providing safeguards. So fully commend it. If there's no one wanting to speak on this one, the recommendations on this are on page 89, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Then move on to the quarterly performance report. So this is a regular report the Cabinet will be used to seeing in my name, alongside our ambitions for Hounslow, which are being delivered through the delivery plan and the financial plan. It's important that there is oversight of performance on that plan. So this report details that for Q2 for Cabinet's awareness. Of course, there is a lot of work that goes on in the background around formulating these, but to reassure those in the audience and watching at home, these are subject to regular discussion between Cabinet members and myself as leader, and between their officers as well, to make sure that there is sufficient oversight on the processes being employed. So I formally move the report. Would you second it?
I'll second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Dunn. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything on this report or ask a question? Can't see anyone indicating, so let's move to the recommendations on this, which are on page 106, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much, everybody. The next report for me is in my role as exercising the shareholder function for the Lambton companies. In the same way that we monitor our own performance, it's important to have oversight of the performance of the companies who do a great deal of work on our behalf, providing the services that our residents value. Again, a very comprehensive report that details finances and performance against the performance measures that are in place and are constantly being reviewed and refreshed. So I formally move this report. Councillor Lambert, would you second the report? Yep. Second it and reserve your right? Yep. Okay, it's now open for discussion or debate. Anybody on this one? No, again, a very straightforward report. So the recommendations on this are on page 136, 1.1. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, item 7 on the agenda is the designation of the Glebe Estate Conservation Area. Back to you, Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. The Glebe Estate is a series of roads in Chiswick, for those who are not familiar with the area, and it is being considered for as a conservation area. There was a consultation that was held about this area a couple of years ago. Those who were on Cabinet at the time may remember us going out to ask the residents then at that point, and there was a mixed response. Broadly negative at that point, although it was felt and is still felt that there was a campaign from certain individuals around what that would mean and some misinformation. That's not to say those views weren't, many of those views weren't worthy or valid, but some of the misinformation probably we didn't clear up enough at the time. So we've had some more representations from people who are still keen for this to be considered and put under a conservation area. We feel it's worthy of a relook and for us to go out and ask again with some much clearer information about what it means. Lots of work has been undertaken by officers with residents to make it clear about what it is and what it isn't and how it can work well for them. There are lots of informal positive responses so far, but this is asking members to agree for us to formally go out to consult with the residents in that area. Subject to there not being any objections, the conservation area can be approved under delegated authority. However, I do expect there to be one or two, and so therefore we'll take a view on that, likely to be bringing something back to Cabinet for a further decision at a later date. But at the moment, we're looking to whether we can go out and consult on whether this should be. For my view, I think it is certainly worthy of thought and to be considered positively by the residents in that area. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I'll formally second it and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion or debate. Councillor Sheen.
Well, thank you, Councillor Bruce, for bringing this back to consideration of residents. I don't have a lot to add apart from every resident I know who lives in a conservation area loves living in a conservation area. It's something that means a lot to them. So I think, and they're very proud of it. So I think it is worth having that conversation again, and let's see what comes of it.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Anyone else? No, I can't see anyone else indicating on this. So the recommendations are on 162, page 162, 1.1 to 1.3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Perfect. Thank you. Review of local heritage list and overall process review. Over to you again, Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have a local list which includes our heritage sites in the borough, heritage buildings and areas of interest, buildings of interest in the area in the borough. It is important that we go out periodically to refresh this list, whether that's to take any off or to put new ones on. We ask for people's input. This isn't completely officer-led. This is we're seeking people's views on this. We do get people writing into us, and then we welcome that. We'd welcome that more for us to then consider, look at whether it has merit to go on the local heritage list. So we're looking to go out formally seeking those nominations for us to consider, but also to look at a process, and this is in the Appendix 1, it talked about the spot or emergency local listing between those updates, which can be where we've missed something and something should go on, with a short period, with a short notice. We can do that under delegated authority. I think it is important that where that has positive merit and goes on without any issue, that will happen. There is still process for people to make objections if they feel that that's incorrect to the council, and the council will then be able to relook at that and bring something formally to Cabinet. I can bring something formally to Cabinet on a particular building if that is necessary at that point. So there are checks and balances in place, but it gives us this, what we're asking for is greater flexibility, certainly where there is, absolutely no objection, and it's obviously the right thing to do. It's quite a straightforward report, but updating our local list, which I know we're all very proud of.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bruce. I'll formally second and reserve my right to speak. So therefore it is open for discussion or debate. Anybody around the table? Can't see anyone. Yeah, no, a really timely report. Thank you for bringing it forward. Our heritage is something that's very, very important to us, as you've kind of identified, and recognising that and protecting it is absolutely important. Great success in Boston Manor, still off the back of that, but also Gunnersbury, but also local assets that exist in and around the borough that we know of that are historic and contribute to the character of the borough, I think are important to be added, and the flexibility that this brings is also very welcome. So the recommendations on this are on page 216, 1, 2 and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Now go on to a very exciting report. All of them are exciting, but I was quite excited about this one. Net Zero Neighbourhoods. Over to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Leader. This is a very exciting report because it represents a completely different way of doing things, a proposal for a different way of doing things for the council when it comes to meeting our net zero targets. So members of the Cabinet and people watching will hopefully be aware that we declared a climate emergency in 2019. And we have set ourselves a target to reach net zero by 2030. An incredibly ambitious target, but one that we will do our very best to meet. A key area within this is the retrofit of housing and other buildings within the borough. Whilst one of our programmes is around building new sustainable homes that are very energy efficient, the majority of buildings that will be in use over the coming decades have already been built, and that's where the challenge is to retrofit those buildings, to make them more energy efficient, to adapt them so that they can use renewable sources of energy, such as solar panels and things like air source heat pumps. So we have started retrofitting, and we have used grant funding through schemes like the Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme for on some of our schools and corporate buildings, and the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund on some of our social housing in the borough, including the council's housing. As I have mentioned on many occasions previously, I have a great team at the council who are really good at bidding for this funding, but they have to bid. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes money to bid for funding that you are not guaranteed to obtain. That is oversubscribed, and where we are competing against other boroughs which need that funding just as much as we do. Furthermore, if we were to bring all of our council homes to net zero standards, it would cost us around £300 million, which is money that is not available through grant funding. We can borrow, and there are borrowing options available to us. But we're talking about big sums of money here. And if we look beyond our own council homes and into the private sector, because we need everyone's home to be brought up to a decent standard, then the cost for that is in excess of £6 billion. So the approach that I'm asking us to look at today and to take forward and see if it's feasible for our borough is a net zero neighbourhood approach. That's one that uses blended finance, which means a mixture of private and public finance, to deliver home retrofit plus additional neighbourhood improvements. And benefits for our residents would include lower bills, perhaps savings of over £600 per household that benefited, as well as those wider neighbourhood improvements. Now, this approach is very new. It's being pioneered at a national level by 3CI, which is the City's Commission for Climate Investment. And 3CI is looking for demonstrator areas to take forward to show that this approach works. Now, we are very keen that Hounslow is included in this. We have been included in an investor pitch book that was coordinated by 3CI and launched last week at COP28. Within the borough, we have shortlisted areas that we wanting to take forward for feasibility studies. And these are Cranford and Heston, Feltham and Hanworth. And this ties in with our equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, which identified priority opportunity areas where we saw some of the greatest inequalities, and gives us a chance to address that. So I'm not asking for any funding at this stage, you'll be relieved to know, but what I'm asking to do is to take this forward as per the recommendations. If you agree and we take this forward, we'll look into the feasibility of these areas, and there will be future opportunities for Cabinet to look at what's happened, what's going on, and whether it looks like something that we want to continue with. I want to mention something which is our new net zero hub, because ultimately, if we go ahead with this approach, we will have this is an online platform, and there'll be a a site there for investors to come in and see what there is to invest in Hounslow. But I don't want our residents to miss out. And so there's also a residents section, and I'm actually launching that tonight. So this is a new web resource. We'll be announcing it and for our residents so that they can find information on the climate emergency, on net zero, on our plans, on what they can do, on volunteering opportunities, all in one easy to find place. And I would urge residents to look out for that in the next week or so.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. I'll formally second it and reserve my right to speak. So it's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything on this report? Councillor Sheen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dunn, for bringing forward this very timely report. I mean, it's in the same week that COP's going on. World leaders are missing all of their climate objectives, and it's very good that even though Hounslow Council has such a minuscule role to play in it compared to where the world leaders are, we are going to do our bit. It's an ambitious target. This isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap, but you're doing it, and well done. I think this is a great report.
Absolutely, Councillor Sheen. Anyone else on this? And of course, speaking of COP28, we launched our finance prospectus at COP28 as well earlier this week. Is that right? No? Yeah, absolutely. Detailing some of the challenges that Councillor Dunn has mentioned in her opening. So for me, really, really exciting time. And we really are showing leadership. And I'm really, really pleased that this has come forward. And for me, I suppose, our overall mission here in a cost of living crisis to save money for our residents wherever possible. And this kind of builds on other initiatives that we've had, the pilot of the Heston in the Loop project, the circular economy in Heston, which seems to be going really well. I'm going to go and see it myself one Saturday when I can get up in time. But that seems to be doing a great job. But, you know, it's really, really good to see that we've really focused in as well on the areas of deprivation using the EDI work. And I think this is a example of our council system working really well together to try and find solutions for residents when they need it the most and make their lives easier. You're right, it won't be easy. You're right, it will be expensive. But we are showing leadership not only within the borough, but also nationally, leading a lot of this work. And this is the dividend that you get from leading on that work, and we'll carry on doing that. So I'm really, really pleased. Again, congratulations to you, Councillor Dunn, but also the team on this. And I know there'll be plenty more coming forward in the future. So if there's no one else, the recommendations on this are on page 233, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. We now get an update on the local plan from Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is asking members to Cabinet to agree the updated local development scheme. The local development scheme was only updated in April, but as with things with the local plan at the moment, it's moving rapidly forward, and so it needs a refresh again. Takes in the new timescale of the local plan adoption, which I've already brought to Cabinet, so there should be nothing that is a surprise to anybody in there. But it also asks for an allocation of a budget of £88,500 to fund the council's contribution to the cost of the West London Waste Plan. This may seem a lot to some and not that much to others. I would say it's value for money, particularly I would say it is value for money. We're going in with other boroughs in the West London Waste area. Without this, we would simply have to go on our own and it would be more expensive. So the agreement of some funding to continue this work over the next 3 years. And another approval or ask is that any minor alterations to the local development scheme don't need to come back to Cabinet, but will be under delegated authority. Obviously, any substantial changes would come back here. The report also highlights the progress that's been made on the consultation for the Regulation 18 part of the local plan. We are currently in that period. It closes in 5 days, I think. Yes, on the 17th of December. So people have still got time to contribute to that Regulation 18 if they so wish. Officers will look at the submissions over the coming months. A report will be to Cabinet and to Borough Council before we start the next phase, the Regulation 19 phase, assuming all goes well and the consolidation of the 4 bits of the local plan are approved. Lastly, also to note is that it's the procedure for publishing the authority's monitoring reports. Currently, this is an annual occurrence. Part of the guidance from the government is actually now it doesn't need to be. Certain things in terms of monitoring housing will become annual, will stay annual, but other things will be based on a thematic approach as and when is necessary. So again, that will be to officer delegation to decide all those things. I move the report, Leader. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bruce. I formally second it and reserve my right to speak. It's now open. Anybody like to say anything on this? Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, well done, Councillor Bruce, for pulling all this together. It does sound complicated when you're talking about those Regulation 18 and 19 and the different phases that our local plan and development plan have gone through. But I know that you have really looked at and found the right way forward to make sure that from now on it's going to be as streamlined as is possible with these things. I know for some of our residents, it's perhaps been a long and frustrating process, but I would just ask them to be patient. We are moving this along. And then I just wanted to mention on the West London Waste Plan. I served briefly on the West London Waste Authority, and Councillor Lambert is the main man with that regard. But that's really important as well, and just to stress to everyone how important that is, because waste, recycling, and reuse and moving towards the circular economy are all incredibly important things for the borough, and it's really important that we work together with the other boroughs within the West London Waste Authority to make sure that we come up with a plan that is fit for the future.
Thanks, Councillor Dunn. Anyone else on this? Was that a hand up, Councillor Lambert? No. Okay, fine. So the recommendations on this report are on page 263, 1.1 to 1.4. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. And the final report of this evening is the SEND and Alternative Provision Programme business case. Over to you, Councillor Bath.
Thank you very much. So what I'm asking Cabinet today is approval for the strategic business case for 2 programmes. First is the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities and Alternative Provision Programme, and the other one is the National Safety Valve Programme. So I'll be very brief in trying to explain what they actually are. So as you will remember, that the SEND service in Hounslow went through an inspection and needed transforming, and the inspection resulted in a number of improvements that we needed to make in our service delivery. And so obviously we've committed to that, and we provided a statement of action to the Department of Education that we will be doing that. And I think there are around 16 significant actions that we will actually be taking. So that's the SEND programme. The other programme is, and you might have heard me talk about the National Safety Valve Programme. You look like you're going to sleep already, but so you've heard me talk about the National Safety Valve Programme, but this is a Department of Education programme which is specifically dedicated to helping councils to decrease the cumulative deficit in the high needs block of the dedicated school grants. And it's a 5-year programme, and if we, which we are obviously committed to it, if we are able to demonstrate that our actions are sort of leading to reducing spend, then we get a contribution, a significant contribution from the DFE. So obviously, we want to do this. If we don't take take the necessary steps. I'll just give you an example of what our high needs block will be by 27-28. That's the deficit. It'll be about 73 million, but that's just, and if we don't do anything with 73 million, but it obviously it will increase on an ongoing basis year by year. So that's a significant amount of money. So what I'm asking is to agree the strategic business case, which is attached to this. And in the recommendations, you'll see that we are asking for a significant amount of money, but I'm not coming back again. So I think it's going to be sufficient to deal with it. So we are asking for a significant amount of money. And if you look at recommendations 1 to 7, it basically details where the money is coming from in terms of the money that we are providing as a council. But of course, we get a significant amount back from the DFE as well. But in terms of outcomes and improvements for children and young people with SEND and etc. in the borough, I wanted to really kind of list on page 118 some of the projects that will sort of sit under this program, and I think it's important to mention them. I mean, for example, we want to have an approach of developing an inclusive system in our schools, so that where children need to be in a mainstream setting, we're working with schools to ensure that happens, because we know that where children do not need to be in a specialist provision and it's very costly, but it's also not the right provision for them. So that's obviously part of some of the approach that we're taking. We also want to implement and improve our recommissioning strategy, so that working together with our NHS partners, so that we reduce wait times where professional expertise is actually required. So I won't go over all of the projects, but just to say, I'd like Cabinet to agree recommendations 1 to 7, and we will be coming back again to just report on how we're getting on, because I think it's important for you to see that what progress we are making. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. I'll formally second it. No, in fact, Councillor Bruce can formally second it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was putting my hand up to second it. I'll second it. You okay for me to speak? Lovely. No. It is a lot of money, Councillor Bath. You're absolutely right. It is a lot of money. But I have to say, for probably the first time in my cabinet career, I'm going to say well done to the DFE, putting their hand in their pocket and contributing to this. I think it's well overdue and absolutely the right thing to do. I think we all need to play our part here, including government departments, and they clearly are. There's a lot of work in the department that needs to be done. I know from my previous role that there was a huge amount of work that was going on previously. It's very complex, very hard. It's very high demand and it is difficult because, as a former councillor once said to me, children, schools, they don't give you any money. They just cost a lot. Now, he was being flippant, obviously, jokingly flippant. But for me, and the discussion then was, but it's the right spend. And that's the important thing to say. It's the right thing to do. So it is a lot of money, but it's right that the government are contributing. It's right that we're playing our part, and it's right that this is where our money is going to support those most vulnerable. So I really value all the work that you've done since taking on the cabinet role in the last 18 months, Councillor Bath. I think we've got into a fantastic position, and credit to you and your team, Stephen, as well, for all that's happening here, because there are lots of councils in very difficult circumstances, particularly because of their spend on children and on adults. And we are pushing forward, acknowledging the difficult nature of this, but putting our money where our mouth is. We say we will support the most vulnerable. We are supporting the most vulnerable. So thank you, Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. So it's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody else like to say anything on this report? Yeah, absolutely, Councillor Bath and Councillor Bruce, you're both right. Focusing in on the outcomes, it for me is money well spent. If we achieve in such a high spend area sufficiencies and good outcomes for our young people, then we are absolutely doing the right thing. So I didn't flinch as lead member for finance when I looked at the figures. You'll be pleased to know, because actually it is absolutely money well spent. And my thanks also to yourself, Councillor Bath, and also the team for the amount of work that goes into this, but also, if you don't mind, the finance team as well, who make sure that the returns and that we are keeping to our milestones within the written statement of action as well. That's also very, very important in terms of offering assurance to the DFE that we are doing exactly as we say. So that is very good. And as you've highlighted, the recommendations on this are on page 283 and 284. 1 to 7. Can I see all those in favour? Excellent. That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. I've not had any referrals from any other committee. I'm going to use chair's privilege a little bit on one piece of AOB that I'm incredibly proud of. So what was it? November, Stephen? Was it November or October? We got the dreaded phone call that Ofsted were coming in. October, we got the phone call, and Ofsted have carried out a visit of our children's services, and I'm really delighted to report to council that we have maintained a good rating. But the thing that really stands out for me in their judgment of our services is that there are outstanding features within the leadership that we show. So our teams out there doing the job day in, day out have outstanding leadership and are really offering the best that they can to those offering the services. So I'm absolutely delighted with that result. It's a great result and almost tipped us into the outstanding. That's something that we can work on for next time. Stephen's giving me daggers already. But no, absolutely something to work on. But it's something that we should all really, really be proud of. It's a difficult climate out there. There's a lot of money going into the system and there's a lot of spend there. And to achieve great outcomes is absolutely what we are all about. So my thanks to the team. I know it was a difficult couple of weeks. Every piece of paper was scrutinised, from what I understand, and there were regular feedback meetings from the team at Ofsted. But thank you to the team, and thank you to you, Councillor Bath, for the leadership, and thank you to all of Cabinet as well. As corporate parents, we are absolutely making sure that we are leading on this agenda going forward as well. So I'm really pleased to report that. I've not had any other urgent business given to me. So the date of the next meeting is Tuesday, the 16th of January 2024. So all that is left for me to say is, for those watching at home and those in the audience and around the table, have a very good festive season. Try and get some rest, Cabinet officers. It's going to be a busy 2024. We've got a lot to do. Achieving good outcomes for our residents is absolutely what we need to carry on doing, and we will do in the new year as well. So thank you very much and have a good evening.